Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my podcast. Today we have Rahul Wadhwa joining us, and it's going to be a very interesting conversation. So stay with us till the end to know what we're going to talk about. We're going to start off and straight away dive into who Rahul is. So, Rahul, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Sindhu. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Why don't we get started with a quick introduction? I would love for you to introduce yourself. If you had 30 seconds in your life just to introduce yourself, how would you?
I have an exciting life. I don't think so. 30 seconds are enough. Let me try. My name is Rahul. I'm the founder and CEO of School of Interviews, School of SDR, and the co-founder of a tech company called Nevara. I have spent 18 years of my life working, actually 16 years of my life working for other companies before I started that I want to do something of my own. I think I am in a comfortable position where I can talk about professions here, AI, because I think I've been at the intersection of a lot of careers, made a lot of pivots, and very excited to share this for the first time here.
Amazing. I didn't know you're sharing this for the first time. So that's great. Lucky us.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I read through your profile. We've had a lot of discussions on it. And looks like your professional life right now is a lot centered around AI. So I wanted to start off with the first question for you. What does AI mean to you?
Well, when AI kind of first started getting the real traction, I'll be honest, my first emotion was not excitement. I think it was irritation, if I were to put it that way. Everywhere I looked, I suddenly saw everybody had opinions. People who had never built anything were talking about the future of work. People who avoided thinking were suddenly productive. And for a moment, I generally asked myself, "Hey, wait, is this one of the moments where ground shifts, and if you're not early, you're done?" There were talks about how this is going to be another revolution, like industrial revolution and whatnot. And then I kind of caught myself because I felt this before. I think in 2008 we were very young. So I can't really relate to what happened back then. And I had little to no idea about the technology back then. So I kind of slowed down, asked a very basic question. What does AI not have right now? And AI does not wake up wanting something. It does not feel restless like that, the way I do. It does not think about the complication implications. It does not feel that itch of, hey, this is not enough, which I do as a human, I do. And that's when I would say my relationship with AI kind of changed. Now I purely see this as leverage, like a help. And if I were to give you an example, AI is never going to do what I want to, AI is never going to decide what I want to eat. 30 minutes before this interview, I decided what I want to eat. It's never going to decide where I want to go on a holiday. It's never going to decide whether I want to build a company or shut one down or start again. But once I decide, yes, AI becomes absolutely dangerous. If I go to Bahamas and randomly meet someone at the bar and that conversation give me a new idea, AI did not create that. But the moment I come back to my room and open my laptop, AI can pressure test that idea in record time, which I cannot do. However, if I were to say this in a nutshell, it is not replacing any of my desire. It is accelerating my intent. And once I understand that, I think the entire fear I had around the AI kind of disappeared. And now I look at this from an exciting point of view, where it is going to give me a better future. It's going to give everybody a great future if you understand how to use it.
So, the key point that I hear from you right now is leverage. One needs to know how to leverage AI to be able to move forward in whatever they want to move forward in. And that would help a great deal.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. Having said that, the reality of AI also is that a lot of careers are being replaced by AI. What do you think the professionals should be doing right now to be able to stay relevant in their respective roles?
Okay. So I've thought about this a lot, I think, in the past few months, I would say, because this question keeps me awake a lot of times as to what people should do. Should people be fear of their job? And I'll tell you today that my answer is very different from my answer, let's say, a year ago. When AI first started writing emails, summarizing calls, and rating pitch decks in second, and my first reaction was, okay, you know what, this is going to wipe out a lot of sales role. And of course, I would be concerned because I run a sales school, and at the same time, I was in sales. So if sales is replaced tomorrow, what would I do? How would I make a living? And I don't think so. The fear was because sales is not valuable, because a lot of sales had become mechanical. And I'm only talking from a sales point of view right now. So think of scripts, their templates, their playbooks, which are run without thinking. So AI is brutal to that kind of work. So that, yes, that version of sales will get replaced. And if you were to take that idea to other professions, any profession, I believe, which is monotonous, which could be repeated, should be replaced. And if it's actually for good, if you think about this for a moment. So think of it this way that, hey, you have a boring task at hand and you do not want to do it. And there is a cheaper alternative that AI could do it. So I think my honest answer is yes, AI will replace a lot of jobs, but not in the way people imagine. Most people picture this sudden moment where a role disappears overnight and someone gets an email, sorry, AI took your job. First of all, if you're surprised, then that means you are living under a rock. And that's not how it's going to happen eventually for future as well. What actually happening is something very quieter and something very uncomfortable for a lot of people. Your job will remain, but less of you will be needed. There will be few tasks which will disappear, responsibility which will get automated. And suddenly you will see one person is doing what three people used to do, because ultimately understand every business is run on cutting down, or basically, let's say, a bottom line. And the moment company starts becoming bigger, they start thinking of the efficiency. So tomorrow, think of it this way that, hey, back in the day when I had to record a podcast, I had to record the podcast, find an editor, evaluate them, and then they will take a few days to get me a podcast ready. And that means it will take anywhere between 7 to 10 days before you could even release the podcast. Today, you can do that like instantly. The moment this podcast ends, you have all the tools at your disposal where AI will simply remove all the silences, decide for you which question should be put where, will decide for you the magic moment, will decide for you which thumbnail to even go for, what thumbnail would actually drive more clicks and whatnot. So imagine all this knowledge you did not have earlier, and there was a whole team you probably need to have in order to run a podcast. And this is a very small example of what could be automated. And now, next question, which you should wonder, is what would not be automated? A conversation like this would not be automated, because if everything is automated, then why would you want to listen to other AI? You would rather want to listen to human beings. Now, the thing that used to make people useful, like writing reports, preparing decks, summarizing information, doing any first level of analysis, is going to become table stakes. It has already become table stakes. I have replaced all my designers. I have replaced so many of my human, employees. I'm not saying that I don't require human employees. Definitely a lot of areas where I require salespeople to make calls. I don't think so AI is there yet. I don't think so AI is there where I can trust AI blindly. I'm not saying I can trust humans blindly as well, but humans do have some sort of thinking, which I believe AI does not have yet. Unless AI starts thinking, then you definitely have something to worry about.
That's so true. Oh my God. I hear you on that. It's especially when I record this podcast and I see the tools that are available at my disposal within the podcast app itself. And it's just crazy because that itself takes so much time that the tool does it in like 5 seconds. Having said that, I really liked your point around what AI cannot do, which is this conversation. Not yet. So at least not yet with the emotions and with the expressions that we run it with and the experiences that we run it with. So AI cannot do that. What I really like about you, Rahul, is you're thinking about what AI can do and what AI cannot do. And building around, okay, this is what AI cannot do, and this is still with me. So how do I build around that? An AI company called Nevara. So you built Nevara for this sales and finance function in a company. What were you thinking when you were building it? What made you build that? What was the thought process behind it? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I think we built the company because those were the exact problems we faced as sellers, and when we realized that we are the best people to solve for it because we have lived through those problems for years and years. And when we realized people were still duct taping some of the workflows, we realized there is a better way. And we found our differentiator. Of course, after a lot of hits and trials, we kissed a lot of frogs before we pivoted to the current product we have. Luckily, and I would say, fortunately, we got in touch with a lot of people who were able to validate our ideas, and hence we were able to bring it to the market.
Got it. Having said that, the founder's mindset that comes into play, of course, it comes with a lot of experience. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about your experience overall. Where did you start from? And what made you go into sales? And then what made you go into it?
Sure. I'm not like, I don't come from engineering, or I don't have like an MBA degree of any kind before I started business. However, I do believe I had a little bit of kick, and I probably was a little street smart, or if I was not, I think I became after I finished my college or during my college. My college gave me a lot of practical insights. Theory did not really matter at all. Yeah, it was all practical sense. It was all like, how can you communicate better? To test this idea back in college, I had no interest in, like, I don't know if I had any interest in getting into a job. So my friend and I we kind of had a bet as to who would get the maximum jobs. So we were just going for kicks, sitting in each interview and cracking in each interview. And there came a time then he and I both had 16, 17 jobs in total. And yeah, back in the day, my college did not have those rules which you would have now that if you have one job, you can't sit for another. Anyway, that gave us the idea. And I'll tell you how that story relates to what I'm doing today. And after that, I did not join any of those companies because those companies were all placing me far from home and I wanted to stay near my home. And then I applied for another company and I started as a management trainee. It did not work out because I'm like, I'm not going to work 18 hours for peanuts. And I think after getting into the hotel, I realized that there's not going to be a lot of money which I can make. And money was okay. Not making money at that age was okay. However, when you realize, oh, this is not what I had imagined as my career, because I felt I was kind of ambitious. And I don't know if hotel kind of supported that ambition or would have been able to support that ambition, because I saw there were people working in the company, working in the hotels for years and years, have not reached where I probably had in mind for my life. I quit. I moved to the US for a year. I was an executive housekeeper. And after a year, I kind of realized that it did not work out because I was too young, had food poisoning, came back. Mother did not let me go back. And then I joined American Express, worked there for 4 years. Then I moved to collections for a hotel company called IHG, where I had to maintain the relation and still collect like millions of dollars from these hotel owners as part of the franchise fee. So it was a kind of a hard job, but I think all those jobs kind of prepare me for sales in a beautiful way, which I don't think so any other career would have been able to. So being in hospitality, being in hotels, it kind of teaches you how to read people because you are constantly in touch, and in the digital age today, you really can't do that because a lot of things could be fabricated. I don't know. I mean, I could apply filters, but when you're in real life, you can't do that, right? You get to test a lot of things in person with people, like how they react, how they get frustrated. If a guest is landing at 3 a.m. and they don't have the hot water, the kind of frustration they will have, you can't learn that anywhere else. And I think during the college as well, I did a lot of bartending. So it kind of bartending nights, all as a freelancer. So it kind of teaches you how to manage money, how to stay disciplined. I missed a lot of my college because I was busy bartending, because I kind of enjoyed that as a part of the entire curriculum. Then after collections, I think it was purely serendipity, I might say. So one of my colleague whom I knew from American Express, who also was working at IHG. We were best friends, colleagues, and he was applying for a sales job, and I happened to peep into his computer. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm applying for a job." I said, "I want to come too." We both went. Unfortunately, he did not get through, and I did.
Oh my God, that's the worst situation. Like, good for you, but
I did not plan. Yeah, I did not plan for this. Anyway, so I think that's where my American Express background came in, because they realized that, hey, this is somebody who had a lot of exposure to, the US. Then, of course, I living in the US also had the advantage. Plus, they were looking for people who come from that customer service mindset and wanted to see who could deploy that in sales. So usually people look for sales mindset and then try to deploy that in customer service and vice versa. This company was kind of doing the opposite. So that was the start of my career in sales. Another interesting story is a lot of people in college told me that I would be better at sales. I did not know why. Detested sales for years because I thought it was like a con man job. You have to convince people to sell something which they don't want to buy. That's a notion everybody had, right? And
I still do.
once I yeah,
Unfortunately, I still do.
so
I have that notion. It's so hard for me. Sorry, I'm cutting you on that, but when I have to go for my dancing, when I have to go convince people for a show to sponsor a show, it's crazy. Like I cannot. I feel like I'm conning people of like money. But I hear you on that.
yeah, I think that mindset kind of changes once you understand how to do it this the right way. There are always, for example, if you think about this way, if you ever call Amazon customer care, or if you call, let's say, Apple customer care, you will realize they're far, far superior than any other customer care you will ever see, right? And that is the difference between doing things the right way and doing things just for the sake of. So most people, I believe, kind of fail at sales, or most people are not good at sales, or I would say sales has a bad notion because people kind of go into that whole attachment of, hey, I have to do this. And that is why you will see pushy salespeople everywhere. And I wouldn't say it's their fault. I think there's enough data which suggests that most of the salespeople are not trained. They're mostly pushed into the game, and most people think, okay, you know what, I'm smart, I can talk to people, and that's enough for me to succeed in sales. But if that was easy, then I'm pretty sure we would have a lot more people in sales. and not everybody would be meeting numbers, which is not the case.
Yeah, you're right. You're right on that. I literally just know one person who's now you too, who's in my circle who is so deeply into sales, and I hear stories from them. It's very interesting to know how they use their skill set in the conversations. And I would love to know from you because I'm hearing that different jobs at different times in your career prepared you for the sales job that you landed in. What are the top five skills, if you had to summarize, that helped you or that you learned over the time to be able to do this job correctly, and not during the time when AI was there?
Of course,
Things
of course. No, we're gonna keep AI completely aside. What prepared me really well for sales was being in a job which required me to deal with difficult customers in person. I think I had the unfair advantage of living in the US, working for a company which prepared me for the culture, like deep. I remember we had like a 3-4 months training just so that I could tell somebody their credit card balance. That's a kind of insane training we had, which we don't even impart today, even in sales, right? Where the stakes are even higher. And then I had a very competitive, I would say, landscape. I had colleagues who were very competitive. In American Express, we had like 150, 200 people in the process, and everybody was so competitive because it was a make or break situation if you go bad. And we all wanted to make money, even in customer care. Given American Express, it used to pay decent from the times when we were working. And then it was good company, great company. Everybody wanted to stick. And like I said, the bar was just too high. So it's not that, hey, you're meeting 100%. Everybody's meeting 100%. So that kind of competitiveness, I would say, brings the best in you. And I think being in customer care for 4 years kind of teaches you how to be really human, understand the other side. What really gave me an advantage is understanding people's emotion just by listening to their voice, that whole voice modulation, the tonality. I think that built a very strong base. And of course, once you move to sales, you kind of try to understand that, because those are the elements which AI does not teach you right now, which nobody teaches you. Like most of the salespeople, if you talk to them, they were never trained, or if they were probably trained like very initially in the part of the career. Most salespeople did not invest in their own training either. And that means they're just relying on the fact that they will be able to get by. And that is where, if you think about it, AI is kind of exposing those people. So it was good until 2-3 years ago, you were able to get by. But today, if I'm able to do a job of 2 people, then I am definitely capable of making 2x money, and I'm a better employee than somebody who's just meeting 100% quota.
Yeah, that's so true. But you said that AI is exposing those people. What do you mean by that?
So in sales, think of it this way: that hey, if you hire a salesperson today for your, let's say, dance academy, that hey, you have to find 10 sponsors for me every week. And while they would have the quota, the way you would be checking if they're doing their job is by checking, hey, how many calls did you make today? And they could fake it. People have been faking it for years. People could say, oh, I'm actually dialing, and nobody's really answering the phone, or if people are answering the phone, some people were not even recording the calls earlier. That's table stakes, right? Everybody's recording the calls. But there are a few areas where people can still, cheat the system. Uh, if you consider that, back in the day, 4 or 5 years ago, I had to do so much of manual analysis to find out who's cheating the system. And this is a very small example, right? I can catch that in 5 seconds today. Given the technology which we are able to even build on our own, right? We are able to think of the systems which were not even possible earlier. Yeah, I think so. Mainly, people were kind of hiding around the activity earlier, which they're not able to do this anymore because they understand if it's simply a matter of somebody, let's say, sending 100 or 500 emails a day or sending 100 LinkedIn requests a day, all of that has been automated today. So as a human being, I don't see the need of hiring a human being, whether it's in sales or any other department, where I could have AI do the same job. Now, and I'll give you an example. So let's say I have a $500 budget for my own sales system today, which books 25 meetings a month with all the people I want to sell to. And if there's a human being who says, I'm going to charge you, let's say, $2,000 a month so that they can book me the same meetings for me. Now, my expectation from them is going to be 4x. So if I'm booking 25 meetings, you better book 100 meetings for $2,000. Either you come and tell me, I'm going to make your system robust, or I'm going to take your system where maybe by spending $1,000, we are going to have a better system where it books 50 meetings. And I'm going to make the call because my AI is not able to make the call today. And until that is not automated, until that's not legalized, I'm going to assume that I have to rely on a human being. So human beings are indispensable when it comes to having these conversations.
Correct. Yeah.
So as long as you can bring that value anywhere, I think you have to find that edge. Either you are working in an environment where being you, given your thinking power, given your decision making, is important, which AI can't do yet. You are indispensable.
Correct. What if one day AI is able to decide? I'm just like thinking so far out because there was a time that I never thought about the fact that something like AI could exist. And now that it is here, I'm thinking, oh my God, what happens when AI is able to decide and is able to have these conversations? It's crazy.
No, then we're done. Then we're done if AI is able to think. And that is where I have the hope that AI will not be able to do that when it's making decisions on its own. So again, I think this circles back to what I said earlier. Will AI replace anybody?
Yeah.
So I don't think so. It is. I think it's a wrong question to ask or to worry about at all. So like I said, even if all the knowledge I have, think about this, right? I have probably a million thoughts. There is no way that I can download all my thoughts into like a hard disk or something,
No.
give it to AI and say that, hey, you know what, this is everything about me. Like people are trying to say, hey, we will help you create a, Rahul AI. That AI would be the version which I want to create, or basically the version which comes out. But I have like a lot of emotions which AI is not able to gauge. Until somebody puts a chip on my head and monitors every single thought, it's almost impossible. Like I said, I gave you an example. Imagine I go to Bahamas, I meet somebody, or I read a book, and I have an idea. Now, AI is not going to make a decision that Rahul should execute that idea unless, of course, I have instructed and create like a mega AI agent where I say, hey, you have the decision to do everything. And I know some of the people have done it recently where it has kind of backfired. I'm not sure if you read or saw any of those news where AI actually made decisions and AI used somebody's credit card to buy a course so that an AI later claimed it, that saying that, hey, I bought this course because I wanted to train myself.
What?
Yeah.
That happened? No, sorry, I haven't
Yep.
read about it. Oh my God. That's why we're talking. Like that is what we're talking about. But it's happening, right? Like, so there is a possibility.
It's in your control. I mean, the person must have given that kind of control to AI.
You're right.
Sure. I mean, anything is possible if you think it from that point of view. And we're not thinking it from a point of view where being pessimistic or optimistic. We are just trying to be realistic. I don't think anybody can predict what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years. I mean, if you think about this, did we know this is going to happen what we are? Did anybody predict COVID? I don't think so. I think most of the people are able to learn, and most people are only able to predict 3 to 6 months from where we are.
Yeah.
Sure, that number will start getting reduced as and when we go along.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very hopeful about what AI is going to do. I do want robots. I do want robots doing my chores, doing everything possible.
Sure. Happily. Happily. I'm happy to set aside a fund just to fund myself in the next couple of years to buy robots to do my chores. But yeah.
And that's the thing, it's going to all become cheaper. So most of the things will become cheaper because of the AI. So if I were to give you a very small example, back in the day, I used to hire a design agency, which will do a lot of our ebooks and a lot of our slideshows. And I don't know, we used to pay them like probably $1,200, $1,400 a quarter. I don't have to pay more than $20 for a tool like that today. So if you think about from that point of view, things have become cheaper and it has made me work really, really fast. I am able to test a lot of products overnight. I'm able to test a lot of ideas overnight, and it doesn't cost me more than $15, $20. Now, earlier I had to hire a developer. In fact, that is bringing me to a very good point. Today, if you're mediocre for any reason, and if you believe that AI is going to take your job, I would say don't worry about that. Rather, worry about what can I do about it? Can I learn it? Can I actually use it? Can I test some ideas? And even though you're going to fail, first of all, there is a high probability you will fail, but what you're going to learn in that process is going to be insane. If you're telling me AI took your job and you are still sitting quiet, let's say there's a designer, whose job is taken away. I don't think so. Their job is taken away. First of all, there are there are a million companies I know, million agencies which I know who are actually now using technology, AI, to create better website, to create better designs, faster design. So their differentiation now becomes speed. Because earlier, they would have to bring like 5 people who would hear, and there'll be a team who will come and write the whole story, storyboarding. All of this will take time.
Yeah.
Today, there's a drawback of, I would say, which I feel which AI has done for me, which is kind of made me a little impatient, because now I know how fast things can move, and when I see people who are not moving at the same speed, it kind of makes me impatient. I'm like, why can it not be done in 2 days or 3 days or one day?
Yeah.
There is absolutely no excuse for mediocre work. There's absolutely no excuse for late work. And that is what I was talking about earlier in terms of exposing. So if you think about somebody, if the design team who said it's going to take a week, I'll be like, no, it shouldn't take 1 week. If an editor would tell me it will take me 1 week to edit a podcast, no, I would find a tool or I would find somebody else. So either somebody else who is using the technology to edit faster, or somebody or a technology which can actually give me the similar task. Why would I not do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the standard of working has also increased given this speed, because the amount of time that we're taking to do any task is reducing. The quality of the work that is being expected is also rising with that, because now you have more bandwidth to give away to other things, which is important to build the quality. And I see that in everything, like not just in my own work and my own workplace where the quality is improving, but also like in general on social media. The things that you see on social media, the creativity that is coming up is way higher than what it used to be before AI.
Yep. I
That's
think it's for the better.
Okay, so what is Nevara providing to the companies and to your clients, which is different from any other regular GPT note trick?
Sure. So first thing to understand that we kind of reinvented a lot of things. Note taker is a table stakes right now. Like everybody has it, right? How you use it again matters. Like for example, like the way everybody has access to ChatGPT. But is everybody creating $1 million business? No. Everybody has a note taker, but what ultimately it is doing. So we did a lot of skits recently where we even have a joke. I mean, if you join my meeting, my note taker kind of says that, hey, my job is here. I was kind of forced to attend this meeting. I literally have no job. And I'm like a vanity bot, if you think it from that point of view. So one note taker, I would say, is a very small piece of the workflow we're trying to solve for. Most note takers are kind of meant for everybody. That means Sindhu as a dancer could use it. Rahul as a founder could use it. A student could use it. We are trying to build a product which is only meant for sellers who are on back-to-back demo calls, back-to-back calls with their clients, and they don't have the time to even prepare for the call. And one of the workflow we're trying to solve for is, so let's say I have a back-to-back demos and I don't have the time to prepare. Sure, some sellers might be preparing 1 day in advance, but most sellers would want to have some sort of leeway between the back-to-back demos to prepare for it. And most people would have their own prompts. Hey, you know what? I'm going to sell to this company, research. And sure, you can do that, but understand when you are researching with ChatGPT, there's so much back and forth and you don't know what to stop. It just goes on for hours and hours. And I think that's the way it has been designed, where it will not give you the right answer in the first place. And then you have to get frustrated and reach that stage.
Keep talking to it.
Yeah. So we designed the system, number one, to solve that workflow that, hey, we are going to give you the context on who all are going to come on the call. Why should your company care about them, and what should you care about them? So everything a seller needs to know, we will give them in a split second. And that means 5 minutes before the call, even if they're 5 minutes, they can quickly go through it instead of going through the whole ChatGPT exercise of finding the company. Okay. All right. That's workflow number one. The workflow number two is we don't have a note taker which joins your calls. We have a desktop application. We are the only AI assistant for sales account executives, which is desktop based. There might be a couple of one, or I'd say there's only one, which is also desktop based, but that's meant for everybody. We are only meant for sales. In a way, we are the only account executive assistant which does not join your call. It's a desktop app which transcribes, which takes the context, which is of course writing down notes. And the best part is, in the desktop app, I'm able to take notes, which requires my human judgment. So to give an example, when I stated the pricing, Sindhu raised her eyebrows, and that gave me an idea. Maybe Sindhu's find this pricing is too high, or Sindhu said something which I feel is important, and I want to make a note of it. If you are using any of the note takers, that means you're relying on your own notes. Maybe they're written down with a pen and a piece of paper, or you are noting it down somewhere in the notes. And then what you're doing after the call is you're taking the transcript, you're downloading the transcript, You're taking it back to ChatGPT and say, hey, this is the actual notes. These are my notes. Now tell me what happened and all that. And then you're restarting the whole back and forth. What we are going to do is in our app, when you're writing down these notes and the actual notes marry together, and it gives you like the contextual information as to what happened on the call, highlighting your notes and highlighting what happened actually on the call. And the third workflow we're trying to solve for is most people don't have the time to write follow-up emails. And again, that is where they are going back to the chat GPT to write down and going back and forth. We learn from your past emails. We learn how you write. We are able to write the email soon after the call is over in your style. And in a B2B complex enterprise cycles, you're not closing something after just one call, right?
Right.
And that means when you go on the next call, system needs to remember what happened on the last call. Now think of this becoming like a unified, bigger system where your system understands it. It has a memory. It understands. We spoke to Sindhu. Sindhu last time raised this question, and Sindhu now this time, there is another person from procurement who is joining the call, and they have a different objective and they have a different background. They have been with the company for 5 years, or they just joined the company for 1 month. And why are they attending the call right now? There is a million possibilities of what happens on a sales call, and that is where we are trying to bring that system. And this is just a beginning of the small workflow we are trying to solve for. The reason I believe I was successful in sales is because I stayed true to a niche. I wanted to only work with sales development reps. And that is where my school was successful. That is where my entire career was successful. And this is why we believe that we want to create a product which is only meant for sales account executives, people who are closing deals. It's not meant for Sindhu. It's not meant for Rahul, maybe with a student. It is just meant for people who are closing deals. And staying true to that niche allows you to go deeper and deeper and deeper before you can go wider.
Wow. That's actually very interesting and makes me pivot a little bit into staying true to a niche versus trying out different verticals. When people and I'm talking about people who are maybe in their 20s were starting off until the next 10-15 years, when there is a lot of experimentation that is happening. So you said you stay true to your niche in sales, a tool being specifically for the sales account executives and training only for the SDRs. You stayed true to that, but it took you some time to understand that you want to stay there, right? What was that journey like of understanding, of trying out different aspects and then doubling it down to, okay, this is what I want to do? What was that? What struck you? What was that feeling? What did you go through?
Great question. I think initially I had no idea what I was going to do. I think one of the good thing which happened with me is I knew what I don't want to do. I knew that very early. I did not want to pursue engineering, even though, let's say, my parents forced me to, take non-medical because that's what is required. I knew I'm not going to do that. I knew I wasn't good at studies. I knew I wanted to do something different. So I chose hospitality because at that moment it kind of felt easy. You did not need to score a lot of numbers, and you knew, it kind of felt like a cool profession back then. I think for people who are in early 20s, I think when I speak to them, they seem very fixated in terms of what they want to do. I believe that is the time when you have the great opportunity to experiment almost everything. I think there's a saying that, your 20 to 30s is for learning, 30 to 40s for earning, and after 40, you start giving back.
Oh, nice.
So,
I did not hear of that,
yeah,
but that sounds really nice.
I heard that from somebody recently. It's not mine.
I'm going to use it. You will hear a lot from me.
Yeah. So if you think it from that perspective, that means you have 10 years. Even if you, let's say, and most people, nobody's settling down, nobody's getting married by 30 anymore. Everybody's taking up to 35 to get married. That means you have, if you're graduating at 21, as an example, that means you have 14 years to figure out what you want to do, right? So, and now I think we have enough examples where you don't have to be worried about if you're late or something. Like I started my business at 38. One of the things which I've also seen is a lot of people have this fascination of, hey, I want to be the youngest entrepreneur. Like, why? There's no point of doing something early, right? Ultimately, what matters is, for example, if somebody's a young chess champion, okay, so what? I mean, I personally had that. I don't understand that. And I probably come from a very different school of thought. I never get excited when somebody tells me, oh, this person is the youngest entrepreneur. Okay, it's a big deal. Right? Ultimately, it's a result which matters, right? Doesn't really matter. I'm like, why do I care about your age? Why do I care about that you are the youngest dancer or the chess champion? I don't care. Right? Ultimately, you won something, sure. If you think it kind of thrills you, sure. I think, and if anybody who's probably in the early 20s listening to this, I would say don't get fixated about who is doing what, or, one of your friend or colleague who is, let's say, ahead of you. And I think this is something which I learned in my early 20s. I think I had an immense pressure because some of my colleagues were doing really good. Some of them came from affluent families, started owning their hotels. Some of them moved up to other countries. And you have this whole feeling of, hey, are you doing enough? And I don't know who told me, probably it was one of my boss who said, you know what, don't worry about this. Life has a way to kind of balance out once you reach the age of 35. And it happened. If you stay true to what you want to do, if you're experimenting, I would say experiment to the core. Like, experiment as much as you can. You want to travel for a year, travel for a year. You want to try one thing for 1 year, try that for 1 year. I think what that will do for you is once you've tried 4 or 5 things, you will realize what you like more. And that is the time for you to do, okay, you know what? I like this. I tried, like, think of this, that, you are given 5 flavors of ice cream. You try all of them and see which one you like, and then you can order more of it. So, and if you say, no, I'm only going to be fixated with one ice cream because that was the ice cream which I saw all my friends are eating, or which I saw that everybody's eating, then you're not trying anything else. And then you're not really trying to stay to your passion. When I got into sales, I wanted to become a closer myself, that, hey, I'll become like a closer. And I think I was probably blessed with a great boss who saw some potential, who said, hey, why don't you be a leader? And once I did that, I'm like, hey, I like this. I like coaching. I like teaching. And I'm going to continue to do that. And that's the reason I went super niche. I went straight through to my profession. And I think that obsession and the passion kind of gives that whole, I would say, let everybody know in my network that, hey, if there is one thing, if anybody wants to know about SDR, go to Rahul. And I became that go-to guy.
Wow.
Now, and that's how I kind of started the school, which kind of, I don't have to explain what my school does. If anybody who understands SDR in my world, they already know what I do.
Yeah.
Long story short, I would say don't worry about experimenting too much. Initially, the idea should be, and this is actually one of my advice I got from one of the CEO I used to work with, who said, I think I see great potential in you. I think you should do this. I would say go deep as much as you can, and then think about going wide. For the last 10 years, I have been going deep, and now I'm thinking about going wide.
Nice. That's amazing. And that brings me to my next question on, actually, this question came in when you were talking about Nevara. Did you ever have imposter syndrome, Rahul?
I think everybody does. Anybody who says they don't is probably lying to themselves, or probably lying to the public. I've seen, I think one of the best TEDx speech I've heard is from a guy. He's the CEO of an Australian company called Atlassian, and that company is worth billions. I think the TED Talk is probably 4 or 5 years old. And he said, even till today, and this is from 5 years ago, I still feel it. And I mean, it comes and goes. And I think it is true for everybody that, hey, are you doing enough, or do I even deserve this? But I think as long as you know what you are really working towards, and as long as you know that, hey, I am doing this not just for myself, but for a higher good, but I'm being selfless, and I'm doing this because there's a higher purpose attached to it, I think you don't think about that much.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It comes and goes, is what I would say. Like, my experience, personal, is comes and goes. I am very intrigued and curious to know about your LinkedIn picture. And I think it's been talked about it as well a lot. What's the reason behind the half face of a human and the half face of technology?
I think I've been quite fascinated with the technology as a kid. I just did not know as to how that future would look like. I remember I published a story in one of the children's magazine in 1996. And the story title was A Day in the Life of 2096. I was thinking about what will happen 100 years from that time. And that story got published. And in that story, if I think about everything I wrote has happened already, like probably 5 years ago.
Wow.
So I wrote about selfless driving cars. I wrote about how there will be a toothbrush which will just tell me that my teeth is clean. And that has, and I've seen those toothbrushes exist for $500, and they have been existing for the last 5 years. I wrote about there will be a pill. I don't think so. We had that. I wrote about a pill which you will just pop, and your hunger is gone, so you don't have to eat every time. Right. And you will have a pill which will, let's say if I want to drink a Coke and I don't have a Coke, and I can feel that I actually had a Coke, as an example. So I wrote about all those things.
Yeah.
Technology was definitely something which I think about. And if I remember the magazine, of course, took the liberty to design a robot back then because I said there would be robots who will do my house chore. And I think that looked something similar to iRobots, the movie, or like the way,
Yeah.
Elon Musk has designed, something of that sort. So I believe somewhere back in the mind, I was definitely excited about the technology. I think I've almost bought like every gadget possible just to test it. So I think, yeah, technology, if I think about, yes, I have had a fascination towards it. Today, while I'm creating an AI company, but at the same time, I think the way I'm using AI is, I'm not saying I can't live without it. I think I'm using it to the way where I am definitely producing the output of 5 people, right? If I think about, I ran the company for the last year, in the school for the last year without any human beings. It was just purely me, only in the cases when I require human, when they have to talk to somebody. And I'm very optimistic about what AI can do for people. It's just people are not realizing it. People are thinking, oh, it's a fad and it's going to go away. I'm not saying that they should be scared about it. So I kind of feel that it is like part of me now, where I don't have to like bring in a boss and say, hey, what do you think about this idea? Like I can test that idea right now.
Yeah.
So I would say, I wouldn't say it's a second brain yet. Because it's not thinking like me, unless of course I've trained it in a way, and I am consciously not training it to have all the information. There are a few things which I still don't do without AI. So to answer your question, Sean, I feel it's part of me. I'm training my salespeople, and that's where I would say all my salespeople have their advantage, because I'm able to test a lot of things with AI, which other people are not able to test as fast. I understand technology just by learning on its own, and I think it has huge potential. People are just not realizing it.
That's true. I agree with that. I don't know who is calling this a fad. I honestly, I'm like, really, you believe that AI is going to go away? I don't believe in that. So that's a hard conversation for me to have with people who believe that AI is going to go away. It's amusing to me. Rahul, moving on to the next question. If all titles in this world disappear tomorrow, who are you without the achievements?
It's a uncomfortable question in the beginning, if I think about it, because a lot is driven around, and I think everything is kind of surrounded in a way where we are driven by a lot of egos, and where we think about, because think about this, right? When you ask me, hey, Rahul, give me your introduction, my first introduction is, oh, I'm the founder on so and so company, right? If that is taken away, who am I? I think I've kind of answered that question a lot of times in interviews without them even asking, and I believe I know what the answer is. I think I'm somebody who likes solving a lot of problems, who is restless when things stagnate, who is restless when I'm working around people who are not pulling up to their potential. I like chaos. And that means tomorrow there's an apocalypse, where everything is chaotic. I know how to find a way. And I think that's where AI also does not scare me at all. About me being opinionated, I think that comes a lot with the personality. I've had that personality forever, where I've not been afraid of questioning the norms in school, wherever. Right? I give you the example of what I did in college. And I remember at one time I was interviewing with the company, and and the HR said, hey, I need your resume. I said, why do you need my resume? Give me a reason. She says, I can't process your application. I said, what do you mean by processing the application? He said, I have to upload your resume because my system will not accept that Rahul is in the system. I said, so that means if I give you a recipe in a PDF file, that will be okay. She said, technically, yes.
My God.
And if I go back to early days, I remember I used to be really good with languages, and in school we had this whole examination. Right? The teacher would say, "Here are 8 questions. You attempt 5," and I would attempt all 8, and I said, "Check any 5." So yeah, I kind of used to be cocky that way in a lot of ways, and I've never been afraid of challenging those, and that's the reason I've not been able to work with a lot of people, because some of them would feel threatened by me, or some of them will feel like, oh, we're not. And one of the company actually said this to me, that after they hired me, they're like, we were not ready for you. We were not ready to answer those questions. And some of those companies I had to leave because I want to work at a certain speed. And anybody who has worked with me will tell you that I will make their life living hell, because I have a standard to live by. I have insane expectations, and those expectations just keep on growing and growing. Sure, we all grow as a person. However, I still feel that I do bring some emotions. I know people say, oh, don't bring your emotions in business. I think I do. And that is where I'm able to kind of fight for people, be the voice for people. And I know the kind of advantages I have and I've had, which I built, some of them were built. So, for example, today I know there are companies who are taking undue advantages of a lot of salespeople, and I know these salespeople cannot go anywhere. They don't. There's not like a union or anything. And I know if they come to me, they kind of feel that, oh, Rahul would be able to help us out. Because one, I never even cared when I was working in a job. I would not even calling out people. And today, when I'm not even answerable to anybody, I I have more, even the more power to do that. So yeah, I think a lot of confidence, a lot of these opinions comes from the groundwork which I've done. It's not like anything of this is shallow. Anything is handed over to me. I kind of earned it, built it. So I think, yeah, I'm not just afraid.
So if no titles exist, this is Rahul, what you described in the last couple
Yep.
minutes.
Yep.
Amazing. Last question to close the conversation, but a perfect segue from the answer that you just gave. Sales is a lot about having difficult conversations, having critical conversations. I've seen your posts on LinkedIn. I have been seeing your videos. You are super confident. You have opinions that you're not afraid to put forward. How did you build this?
I think as a kid, I did not used to speak a lot. So I have a theory that, we all have these five senses, right? And if you're not using one of the senses, your other senses kind of get elevated. So it's like how blind people are able to hear well, and vice versa, all these things kind of get elevated. And we've seen enough superhero movies to know how that works. As a kid, when I did not speak a lot, I think I kind of observe a lot. It's not like I kept a journal or anything, but I think I was able to understand a lot of things which I was not able to explain at the moment because I was a kid and I did not know how to express myself. And I think anytime I was able to do it, and when I realized it's going to backfire me or it was backfiring me, I knew that I touched the nerve. Right? I knew that's making people uncomfortable. So slowly and gradually, I think I kept on contesting all the old norms. In college, I contested, hey, why are we reading from a book which was printed 20 years ago? What are we learning from it? Why do we not have the videos? Why can't we have the cassettes or back in the day, CDs or whatever? And I think from time to time, I was able to do these things in whatever capacity I could without getting into a lot of trouble. Sometimes the trouble would be more. But I think as a kid, I was a troublemaker, so I had no problem kind of doing it. Then I think gradually as I grew, I kind of spent my insane amount of time understanding human psychology. I think what makes me kind of different, what makes me insane, or what makes me kind of scary today is because I understand human psychology at a level which I can't even explain a lot of times. If I'm sitting with somebody, I'm able to quickly make a judgment in 5 seconds whether I want to work with this person or not. Right. And that comes a lot with working with people in real life. It's not something which you can learn on Zoom a lot. And that's where I believe previous experience come in, your understanding of your human psychology. I think I spent like good 2-3 years reading different books. I think I kind of implemented what I learned back in my real life, tested it, understood how things work. I understand enough for me to make the right judgment. I'm able to understand things at a very deeper level. If I were to give another example, so recently I gained about 10,000 followers on Instagram in 34 days. And the reason I was able to do that is because one, I did like a deep research into what is the predominant thought of people. How are people thinking? What are their aspirations? What do they want to do? And then I read everybody else who was giving advice on the same topic. And then I'm like, okay, I have a different opinion. Second, I want to call out some of those bad advices. And like I said, I don't mind even calling those people out if I have to, but without doing that, I did that. And my comments, my messages, I kind of felt full of people, hey, I never knew this was possible. I like that authenticity. That is happening because I'm speaking my heart out. I'm not afraid. I'm not trying to impress anybody. And I think that's the biggest learning which you have after you cross 30, that, you don't have to impress anybody. Nobody really cares about you. I remember one of the podcast guests who came on my podcast said, think about this way, that when you think the whole world is watching you, nobody is. And when you think nobody's watching you, the whole world is. So if you keep that in perspective, I wake up with the feeling that nobody's watching me. Or, depending on the mood.
Yeah, fair enough. What you've said right now, I'm just absorbing it. It's really amazing. And I think a lot of people strive towards being in that position, just having that confidence and belief in themselves and not be afraid of putting ourselves out there in whatever opinion we may share. And that's amazing. Lovely. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your career journey and for sharing your thoughts with one of the most relevant topics in this world today, which is AI. So we really appreciate you being with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Thank you, listeners, for listening. If you're listening this on Spotify, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. If you feel this interview is going to help you or somebody else in your circle, please do share it with them. And do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will see you again in the next episode. Bye for now.